All right, welcome to Wrestling with Green Pinstripes podcast. This is the WWE Clash of Champions 2017 review. This was the final pay-per-view of 2017, and I gotta say, it was a pretty good pay-per-view to close out 2017. I gotta say, of the pay-per-view year, we still got 2 weeks left of the calendar year, so let's not get ahead of ourselves. But in terms of the pay-per-view year, I gotta say, what a way to close out. What a way. So let's start from the beginning, and I know the beginning of the Clash of Champions pay-per-view was the kickoff match between Mojo Rawley and Zack Ryder. I know that Mojo and Zack Ryder were a tag team called the Hype Bros for pretty much a good portion of 2016 and most of 17. I think they were a tag team in 2015 in NXT. Who knows? It's hard to say right now. But yes, I meant sometime like 3 weeks ago, Mojo turned heel on Zack Ryder, attacking him after the match. After a match where they faced off against the Bludgeon Brothers on an episode of SmackDown. And their justification for Mojo's heel turn was that after the Andre the Giant Battle Royal at WrestleMania, he didn't get anything. He didn't get any prize after winning the trophy, and he felt that Zack Ryder was the one holding him down. Here is my theory. I am going to go on a limb and say that Mojo Rawley turned heel because he is jealous that Jinder Mahal, who was the runner-up of the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal, won the WWE Championship after several weeks, and Mojo Rawley, who was the winner of the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal, ended up getting nothing. So in a way, the runner-up of the Battle Royal ended up going on to win the world title, while the winner of the Battle Royal ended up with just a trophy. Just a trophy? You know that Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal trophy means kind of nothing. Because Cesaro won the trophy in the first ever Memorial Battle Royal in 2014. Nothing really happened. 2015, Big Show won it. Nothing really happened. 2016, Baron Corbin won it, but something sort of happened because he was given a main roster call-up the next night, so that's something. But 2017, Mojo won it, and nothing happened. So 3 out of 4 instances, the winner didn't really get a significant reward. It was just a trophy. So that is my theory on why Mojo Rawley turned heel, and Zack Ryder just happened to be the sacrificial lamb. As for the match itself, it was an alright match, and I know that both of them exchanged their pleasantries, but at the end, Mojo Rawley gets the statement over Zack Ryder. It was an okay match, but it's something that's going to be forgettable. I think this is going to be a match that many people are not going to care about in a couple of months because it wasn't anything great. It was just alright. And afterwards was the main card where the U.S. Championship opened up Clash of Champions with Baron Corbin defending the U.S. title against Bobby Roode and the Dark Horse Dolph Ziggler, who many expected not to win. And I know that was a pretty good match to open up the show, and I know that nobody expected Dolph Ziggler to win, because I know many people, including myself, thought that Bobby Roode was going to win the match. I thought that Bobby Roode was going to win the U.S. title, turn a heel, and maybe a main event, not main event, but go to WrestleMania as the United States champion. But at the end, it was not to be, as Dolph Ziggler was the dark horse factor, pinned Baron Corbin to win the United States Championship, and he becomes the U.S. title champion once again. I said title champion. I think that's a bit of an oxymoron. And I know after the match, there was a segment backstage where Baron Corbin threw a temper tantrum and was throwing garbage cans all over the place because he lost the U.S. title. But I think the real reason why Baron Corbin threw a temper tantrum because Dasha Fuentes, the SmackDown backstage announcer, pretty much provoked him. I mean, she shouldn't have asked him about losing the title, and also she shouldn't have brought up the fact that he lost the Money in the Bank cash-in. Bad idea, Dasha Fuentes. Next up was the Fatal 4-Way Tag Team match for the SmackDown Tag Team Champions, where the Usos defended against the New Day, Benjables, Shelton Benjamin and Chad Gable, and Rusev Day, Rusev and Aiden English. And what's interesting about this match was before it, Aiden English and Rusev, they were singing the 12 Days of Rusev Day, which I thought that was a pretty interesting song, and mostly because Aiden English has a pretty good singing voice. So I mean, hopefully someone over there recorded it, because that could be useful for a Christmas album maybe next year. It's too late for it now, so maybe next year they could do a Christmas album where Elias from Monday Night Raw and Aiden English from SmackDown could contribute their vocals for the Christmas album. And, it was definitely a pretty good match between all four tag teams, and, there were a few times where I thought the titles would change hands because of the fact that it was a Fatal 4-Win, and I thought that Benjables would win the title, but at the end, the Usos defied all the odds and retained the SmackDown Tag Team Championships. Alright, next up was the SmackDown Women's Championship match between Charlotte Flair, the champion, and Natalya, who was getting a rematch clause. Now, what's special about this match, well, I wouldn't say special, but what's significant about this match was the fact that there was the lumberjack match with all the women from SmackDown, so they played as somewhat of a factor as for most of the match, the Lumberjacks, or I should say Lumberjills, if you want to be politically correct, were attacking Charlotte for most of the match whenever she was outside of the ring, because a large majority of the Lumberjacks, were mostly heel females, including the Riot Squad, who recently debuted a couple weeks ago. And, they also had their fair share of attacking Natalya. But, the one thing that really interested me was that Carmella almost cashed in, but the Riot Squad interfered and took Carmella out of the match, which is a bit intriguing. But at the end, Charlotte Flair retains the SmackDown Women's Championship, and I know after the match, Natalya, pretty much, broke down, somewhat teasing retirement, but could she be broken, and does she need rehabilitation from a certain woken one? We gotta see. It shall be delightful! Alright, that's enough of that. Next up was a quickie match between the Bludgeon Brothers, who are the repackaged Luke Harper and Eric Rowan, against Breezango, Fandango, and Tyler Breeze. Now, what's significant about this match was that it was leading up to it via Fashion Files, where Tyler Breeze and Fandango were investigating in the Fashion Files segments for several months who attacked them from backstage and who is 2B. Well, it turns out that 2B is the Bludgeon Brothers, and I thought it was an okay match. It's probably the way how Fashion Files is going to end. But here's my suggestion for Breezango in the coming weeks. Now it's time to evolve from Fashion Files and turn it into Fashion Ball Z. Now, the reason why I say Fashion Ball Z, because one, obviously I am a big Dragon Ball Z fan, but the other reason is that it could use they could go on a scavenger hunt looking for fashion balls in various places around the world where they could use a scouter to find the fashion balls to get their magical wish. And of course they could probably do it in like a backstage of SmackDown. Heck, you know what? Push the envelope. You can go even backstage of Raw and do it, even though the Fashion Files would be airing on SmackDown. But you even go to a backstage on Raw and find the Fashion Balls. And you could even go to places that are outside of the wrestling ring. So that's my suggestion for Breezango going forward. But as for the match itself, it was kind of an anticlimactic way to end Fashion Files. That's all I could say. Anticlimactic. Alright, and the next match was Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn versus Randy Orton and Shinsuke Nakamura. And the one major factor was that Shane McMahon and Daniel Bryan were the special guest referees of this match. And what's the stipulation was that if Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn lost, they would have been fired from all of WWE, which means that they wouldn't have gone to Monday Night Raw. They would have been gone from the entire WWE. And I thought it was a pretty intense match, and I gotta say, the tension between Shane and Daniel Bryan is definitely brewing to brewing up to 11. So I mean, I noticed that near the end of the match, Kevin Owens accidentally or intentionally pushed Daniel Bryan towards Shane when Shane was doing a count. And and Shane was accusing Bryan of stopping his count, but I have to say it probably was an accident by Bryan. But then when a second time when Shane was stopping a count, he stopped himself on purpose when Zayn had Orton pinned. So I was like, okay, first when Bryan stopped the count, it was by accident, but when Shane stopped the count on his own, that was definitely intentional. And I saw both Shane and Bryan were arguing, and which led to Bryan giving a fast count to Sami Zayn, which led to Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens winning the match, retaining their jobs on SmackDown Live, and definitely brewing a civil war between Shane McMahon and Daniel Bryan. A couple weeks back, I put a poll up on Twitter saying if there was a civil war that takes place between Shane McMahon and Daniel Bryan, who would you side with, either Shane or Bryan? And a large majority of people chose Daniel Bryan, overwhelmingly chose Daniel Bryan, and I don't exactly blame them, because at the end of the day, Shane McMahon is a McMahon. He's part of the system, and Daniel Bryan represents the hard working class individual who grinds his way to the top. And that's what he did when he chased the WWE Championship back in 2013 and early 14. So that was that. And I thought it was interesting that they placed the Owens-Zayn match near a second to last, because many people thought that was going to main event the show, but it turns out that was not the case. But the main event of the show was the WWE World Heavyweight Championship match. Yes, I know it's technically the WWE Championship, but I still call it the WWE World Heavyweight Championship because it's what I like to call it. Deal with it. Anyway, the WWE World Heavyweight Championship match was Jinder Mahal getting his rematch clause against the WWE Champion AJ Styles, and I thought that was a pretty intense match. I mean, I had my worst fears that Jinder would regain the title, because I don't know, I mean, some people are saying that Jinder Mahal could be two-time WWE champion, and plus you can't count out the Singh brothers trying to interfere, because they're gonna pull off with their bullshit. So I had my worst fears throughout the entire match, was pretty nervous, but I mean, I gotta say that was a pretty good match. Ironically, it was a pretty good match from both AJ Styles and Jinder Mahal, which leaves me confused. Why did Jinder had terrible matches against Orton, but great matches against AJ Styles? And of course, he had even shittier matches against Shinsuke Nakamura. So maybe it's definitely the part of AJ Styles, because he definitely can pull off a good match against almost anyone. Although, some would say that the feud AJ Styles had against Kevin Owens earlier this year was a bit underwhelming, but that's a different story for another time. But anyway, I thought it was a pretty good match, and and I know at the end of at the end of the match, AJ Styles got Jinder Mahal in the calf crusher, and Jinder tapped out. So AJ Styles retained the WWE Championship, and I don't always clap after the end of a pay per view, but when I do, it means they did something right. When I clap, they did something right. So kudos WWE, you got me getting off my seat and clapping at the end of a WWE Championship match. Kudos. You got me emotionally invested. So, I'll give you props for that. You definitely got me emotionally invested. Alright, so, overall, it was definitely a pretty good pay-per-view. I have to say, it was a pretty good pay-per-view. The build-up to it was not that great, because, I don't know, I meant, that was that. But I mean, that doesn't mean that there's everything is perfect, because the women's division on SmackDown is definitely in disarray. I'm definitely serious about that, because I noticed that both Raw and SmackDown, their women's divisions are nearly replicating each other. So there has to be some originality come January, because this is copycatting each other. It's did the writers go on vacation during the month of December? Is Road Dogg writing for both shows? And where's Ed Koskey and Ryan Ward? I mean, you got to have some originality on both the women's divisions. You can't have copycats of each other. I mean, that's something that is not acceptable, because many fans are becoming jaded with this right now. So I hope they get their act together and make both Raw and SmackDown's women's divisions unique. And I hope that they can move on from AJ Jinder, and AJ Styles can move on to better opponents. And I have a suggestion for how where does Jinder Mahal go from here. I have to say, turn him babyface. Well, I mean, the reason why I say turn him babyface is because he's been a heel for such a long time, even throughout his entire career. I mean, I'm not going to count 3MB. I mean, they were technically heels, but they were pretty much the funny kind of heels, the funny kind. So that I'm not going to include it. But I meant I gotta say, turn Mahal face for once, because right now in America, race relations are at a worse time. And I think that instead of Jinder Mahal being booked as a stereotype foreign heel, maybe turn him into a babyface. Slowly turn him into a babyface. And I know that I should not be emulating reality, but I think a good way to turn him into a babyface is to feud with Dolph Ziggler. Dolph Ziggler could be the alt-right or white supremacist heel. Well, mainly because I know that Ziggler leans right on the political scale, so maybe there could be an angle where Dolph Ziggler as the U.S. champion could be the white supremacist heel who says racist things, and then Jinder Mahal finally has enough of it and turns babyface, and then maybe the feud can go up to WrestleMania where Jinder wins the U.S. title. So I mean, who knows? I could see that working. I mean, I definitely want to see Indians being portrayed in a positive light in WWE. I don't want them to be portrayed in a negative light, because I mean, when that happens, I mean, sometimes people can say really nasty things, and I mean, I know that I'm not a big Jinder Mahal fan, and I am of Indian descent myself, but I during his WWE championship reign, I did see some comments that were pretty hurtful. I meant calling him a terrorist is something that's not right. It's unacceptable. I'm sorry. It's just that seeing those comments during that time, it really got to me, and it's pretty hurtful. So for the people that are on the internet, be careful what you say online, because sometimes it can come back to haunt you. And that's got to do it for the WWE Clash of Champions review. The next pay-per-view is the Royal Rumble come January. So I will be back on Tuesday with the SmackDown live synopsis after Clash of Champions. Will it be live? Will it be pre-taped? I will definitely let you know via Twitter. And as for my 2 non-wrestling podcasts, they will be coming out this week. One will be the Disney Fox deal that I have prepared in a PowerPoint presentation, and the other will be Christmas in New York. So I will tell my story about that. So that will be coming this week. And take care and have a great night. Or have a great day wherever you are. So, or in the words of the Truman Show, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. See you, everyone.